Okay, imagine this. High-stakes political drama. Really serious accusations, but they're echoing from behind prison walls.
Mm.
Today, we're doing a proper deep dive into some really powerful statements, unfiltered stuff from former Prime Minister Imran Khan, coming directly from Adiala Jail.
That's right. It's a pretty rare look, isn't it? A very specific, very critical perspective on where Pakistan is right now.
Exactly. And, for you listening, this gives you a kind of shortcut. Instead of wading through all the daily noise, you get right to the core arguments from a major political figure.
Yeah, straight from the source, so to speak.
Right.
Our material, it mostly comes from excerpts of this document called Imran Khan's Indictment of Asim Munir's Rule.
Right.
And also from a conversation Khan apparently had with his family. This was recorded September 17th, 2025.
So recent stuff.
Very recent.
Yeah.
And it's important, I think, to see these not as just random comments, but as building a whole narrative, his worldview from inside prison.
Okay, so let's unpack that narrative. Where does he even begin?
Well, he starts on very personal, very religious ground. He directly addresses Asim Munir.
Okay.
He invokes the Shahad La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and basically pledges not to bow down to what he calls, let me get the phrasing, the cruelty of Yazid or the tyranny of the Pharaoh.
Wow, those are heavy references in Islamic tradition. Yazid, Pharaoh, symbols of ultimate tyranny, aren't they?
Absolutely. He's framing this in epic, almost cosmic terms.
Okay.
He says submitting to anyone but Allah is shirk, associating partners with God.
Which is the gravest sin in Islam.
Exactly. So he's lifting this way beyond politics. It's a matter of fundamental faith principle for him, or at least that's how he's presenting it.
So it's a deeply moral, religious stand he's taking from the outset. And does he connect that to his own situation?
Immediately. He claims that both he and his wife, Bushra Begum, are facing psychological torture in prison.
Psychological torture. What's the alleged purpose behind that?
He pins it directly on Asim Munir. He claims the sole aim is to, quote, break down and submit. It's a powerful claim, isn't it? Alleging personal suffering like that, it really humanizes his struggle, aims to get public sympathy. It casts his opponents not just as political rivals, but as, well, cruel oppressors.
Yeah, it paints a picture of violating basic human dignity, and it suggests the stakes are incredibly high, personally, for him.
Right, but he doesn't just keep it personal. He then draws this really striking historical parallel.
Ah, yes, the Yahya Khan comparison. That one definitely stood out. How does he make that connection?
He puts Asim Munir right alongside General Yahya Khan. Now, for anyone who knows Pakistani history, that name immediately brings up 1971, the secession of Bangladesh, national trauma.
Yeah, military rule, the country splitting apart. It's a very dark chapter.
And Khan alleges Yahya Khan used the army back then to set up a dictatorship, unleashed oppression, and, well, broke the country. He's saying Asim Munir is doing the same thing now.
How so? What's the parallel he's drawing in terms of actions?
He claims Munir is, quote, using the army to create an atmosphere of lawlessness and fascism.
So he's explicitly accusing the current army chief of repeating one of the most disastrous periods in Pakistan's history. That's an incredibly serious charge.
It's immense. It goes beyond criticism. It's like sounding a national alarm bell. He's implying the country itself is at risk again from similar forces.
Okay, so moving from the personal and the historical, he broadens this out to attack the sort of democratic structures themselves. He says, Asim Munir has left no stone unturned for the extension of his illegitimate rule for 10 years. 10 years? That's a long time horizon.
It is. It implies a very deliberate long-term plan to consolidate power, completely outside any kind of democratic mandate, and he then lists the alleged actions taken to achieve this.
Like what's the first step he points to?
First, he accuses the powers that be of strangling democracy, and the key event he highlights is what he calls the false flag of May 9th, 2023.
Right, that refers to the protests and the attacks on military sites after his arrest back then. Khan's claiming that was staged.
That's his claim. He alleges it was deliberately orchestrated to provide a pretext to crush his party, PTI, which he calls the largest political party.
And then fast forward to the elections earlier this year, February 8th. What's his take on those?
He calls them shamelessly stolen. He insists PTI won a clean sweep based on public support, but the mandate was instead given to, in his words, convicted criminals.
That's a frontal assault on the entire electoral process. What are the implications if people believe that?
Well, it's huge, isn't it? It completely undermines public trust in democracy itself. If you believe the mechanism for choosing your government is rigged, it leads to massive disillusionment, potentially instability. It challenges the whole idea of rule by the people.
And this alleged undermining extends to other institutions, too, like the judiciary.
Yes, very much so. He claims the judiciary was, quote, incapacitated and judges were subjugated.
How does he claim that happened? Through what mechanism?
He points to the 26th Amendment. Now, interestingly, that amendment was originally about increasing representation for the tribal areas.
Right, I remember that. Federal reforms.
Exactly. But Khan alleges that this constitutional change was somehow twisted or used to weaken judicial independence, turning the judiciary into, as he puts it, nothing but a subordinate department of the government.
So a reform meant for one thing, he claims, was weaponized to basically capture the judiciary.
That's his assertion. It suggests a deliberate dismantling of the checks and balances that are supposed to keep power in check.
And then there's the media, another pillar, supposedly.
Also targeted, according to Khan. He says flat out that the notion of a free press in Pakistan has been eradicated. Severe restrictions, he claims.
What's the danger there if the press is silenced?
Well, a free press is the watchdog, right? It holds power accountable, keeps the public informed. If Khan's right, and that's gone, then public access to unbiased info is choked off. Dissent gets suppressed, narratives get controlled.
So if you put all these pieces together, the alleged stolen election, the hobbled judiciary, the silenced media, what's the overall picture Khan is painting?
It's pretty bleak. His view is that Pakistan's tenuous hold of democracy, including judicial independence and free media, has been effectively terminated by Asim Munir.
Terminated. Strong word.
Very. And he lists the consequences. Democracy suspended, human rights violations peaking, a subservient judiciary, intimidated media. It's a full-scale indictment of the entire system as he sees it now.
That sounds like a really grim internal picture. But he also talks about Pakistan's place in the world, doesn't he? Foreign relations, the economy. What about Afghanistan?
Yes, he makes some pretty strong claims there, too. He alleges that since Asim Munir took office, there's been an active effort to sour relations with Afghanistan.
How? What specific actions does he cite?
He mentions issuing threats towards Afghanistan, the mass expulsion of Afghan nationals, people who'd lived in Pakistan for generations, in many cases, and conducting drone strikes inside Afghanistan.
Okay. And what does Khan claim is the motive behind these actions? Why deliberately worsen relations?
Khan's interpretation is that it's about international positioning. He claims the goal is to provoke Afghanistan into fighting, so Munir can then portray himself as a mujahid, a warrior, basically.
A warrior against who?
Against terrorism, ostensibly. The idea, according to Khan, is to appeal to Western lobbies who are against the current Taliban government in Afghanistan and convince them that he, Munir, is the guy who can lead the fight against terror.
So foreign policy driven by image management and aligning with certain foreign interests, in Khan's view?
That's the picture he paints, yes, suggesting it's not primarily about Pakistan's national issues, but something else.
Interesting. And connecting this alleged oppression internally and these foreign policy moves, what does he say about the economy? That's always a huge issue.
Huge.
Yeah.
And he paints a dire economic picture. He talks about historically slow growth. He claims foreign investment is virtually zero.
Zero. That sounds extreme.
He says it's the lowest in Pakistan's history. And maybe the most alarming claim is about the national debt. He says it has doubled in just 3 years.
Doubled in 3 years. Wow.
Yeah, trapping, as he puts it, every Pakistani in a quagmire of debt. Now, these are his assertions, obviously, but any claim like debt doubling so quickly, if backed by data, points to really deep economic problems, regardless of the political narrative.
Absolutely. And what's his proposed solution? Does he offer one?
His solution ties directly back to his political argument. He says these economic challenges simply cannot be solved until a government of the people is established.
So economic recovery depends entirely on achieving what he sees as legitimate political rule.
That's the linkage he makes, yes. The economy is intrinsically tied to the political crisis, in his view.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to something maybe even more fundamental. He touches on morals, human rights. He talks about unprecedented moral decay. What does he mean by that?
He describes specific atrocities that he claims are happening, things not even seen in wartime. Very strong language.
What kind of examples does he give? Because those are powerful claims.
He gives some harrowing ones, clearly designed to shock. He mentions women being dragged in the streets, children being seized and harassed, the sanctity of the elderly being violated.
These sound like violations of basic decency, not just political rights.
Exactly. And he makes it personal again, saying his wife and other female relatives, non-political ones, he stresses, have been treated just as badly. It paints a picture of a society where fundamental norms have broken down.
And who does he blame for this alleged moral collapse?
He lays the blame squarely at the feet of the leadership. He says this kind of moral destruction happens, quote, when a state is handed over to thieves and plunderers, tales of whose corruption every child knows.
A complete indictment of the leadership's character, essentially.
Yes, arguing their alleged corruption permeates and destroys the nation's moral fabric.
Okay, now let's turn to those more recent statements from that September 17th conversation. He starts by recalling a past prediction.
Right. He reminds people that he predicted PTI would get a clean sweep in the elections, despite what he called a climate of fear, and he claims that prediction came true, despite the alleged rigging.
Why bring that up? What's the strategic purpose?
Well, it's a way to build credibility, isn't it? By saying, I told you so about the past, he's positioning himself as someone whose current warnings should be taken very seriously, like a visionary.
Okay, so what's the new warning?
Given everything he's described, the injustice, oppression, fascism, lawlessness, economic ruin, he predicts Pakistan is now very rapidly heading towards situations like those in Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka.
Oof. Countries that have faced major political turmoil, economic collapse. That's a grim forecast.
It really is. He's using those examples to signal just how dire he believes Pakistan's trajectory is right now.
So facing this grim outlook, what's his call to action? He's not just predicting doom, presumably?
No, definitely not. He gives very clear instructions. To all his party's parliamentarians and members, engage in real opposition.
Real opposition. What does that entail?
He warns that anyone who doesn't will dig their own political grave because, he says, real opposition reflects the voice of the people. And he justifies this by saying all legal avenues for justice, especially regarding the election results, have been tried and failed.
So the courts, the legal system, dead ends, in his view.
That's his assessment. Therefore, he concludes, resolute opposition is the only path left. It's a significant shift towards confrontation.
And he has a warning about cooperating with the current setup.
A very stark one. He says, the more you cooperate with them, the more they will crush you. It's basically a no-compromise directive. No more appeasement.
And what about the general public? What's his message to the nation?
He directs their attention very specifically. Focus your attention on the Peshawar rally. He gives a date, September 27th. He frames this rally as the moment for the public to collectively raise its voice against oppression.
So a call for mass mobilization centered around this upcoming rally.
Exactly. It's presented as a crucial opportunity for people to show their resistance.
Wow. Okay, that was quite a deep dive into these statements from Imran Khan, right from Adiala Jail. We've covered a lot of ground.
We certainly have.
From those really personal claims of psychological torture, the heavy historical parallels with Yahya Khan, then the sweeping allegations about democracy being strangled, elections stolen, institutions like the judiciary and media undermined.
Yeah, and then his views on foreign policy, specifically Afghanistan, the dire economic warnings about debt and investment, and finally that sense of profound moral decay he describes.
It really is a comprehensive indictment, isn't it? Touching on almost every aspect of the state, political, institutional, economic, moral, all viewed through his very specific lens of being oppressed but resisting.
Absolutely. And his warnings about history repeating itself, coupled with that explicit call for real opposition and the focus on the Peshawar rally, it really highlights the intensity, maybe even the volatility, of the political situation he's describing.
It paints such a vivid, though obviously highly contested, picture of Pakistan right now, straight from a key political figure currently imprisoned. It's his narrative of victimhood, yes, but also defiance. So thinking about all this, these intense claims, these historical echoes, these dire warnings, it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What does it actually mean for a country when its political conversation gets this deeply locked into a struggle over the very basics of power, legitimacy, and accountability, when the foundation of governance itself is constantly being challenged so fundamentally?
That's a huge question. It really shapes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Not just the news headlines, but the future prospects, the daily lives of millions of people caught in the middle.
A profound challenge indeed. Lots to think about.